Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Happy Friday. I hope you're excited as I am and very much so ready for the weekend because, extra self-care. But thank you so much for joining us for today. Quick brown bag lunch. We're going to do another really awesome activity, but just a little bit of housekeeping before I totally jump in. As always, we are in webinar format. So you don't have the options to turn on your camera or unmute yourself, but I do encourage interaction. So if you have something you'd like to contribute to the activity for today, or any kind of thoughts, or even just in general kind of other ways that you practice self-care along the lines of kind of being creative. I am always looking for different ideas and stuff like that, so feel free to drop them into the chat box. I do like to keep the chat box open during our entire time together for today. Don't usually have too many questions with this activity, but I'll make sure I save time towards the end for any that may pop up. Go ahead and drop those in the chat box if you'd like as well, or you can use your Q&A feature that you have on your Zoom toolbar. I'm sure you noticed today is being recorded, so I will make sure I get a copy of the slides as well as today's recording over to you folks in the follow-up email. And the recording should also be posted on our YouTube channel, hopefully sometime next week. So for today, we're going to be doing a neurographic art activity. So this is actually based off of the psychological method that was created by Pavel Piskarev. I really hope I'm pronouncing their name correctly, but I'm notoriously known for not, in 2014, and kind of has been referred to as the art of positive change. I know the past few years have been kind of full of ups and downs, full of chronic diseases and natural disasters and just higher overall stress and anxiety levels for a lot of folks across the board. So it's a really important time to really highlight the importance of taking care of ourselves. And we can also do that in more creative and fun ways by doing a little bit of an art activity. I found this one to be really actually awesome to do, and I'm not a creative person. Like, creativity does not come easily for me. I need a lot of structure in my art activities, but this one actually was one that kind of really spoke to me. So I'm hoping for today you all enjoy the process as I walk us through this activity, and I hope you are able to participate to the best of your ability. I did send out a reminder email earlier today of the different kind of materials that you needed. But even if you only have a couple of them, that's totally fine. You can do what you are able to within the space that you have and the materials that you have alongside with you. Or if you need time to kind of gather those materials, you want to go back and watch this recording, you are more than welcome to do that as well. The point for this activity is really to be able to capture how our inner being reacts with the outside world and really help to transform any kind of challenges we may be facing, struggles that we are experiencing, or just in general kind of chaos that we have in our lives that we may be experiencing in the outside world into something a little bit more calming, more peaceful, and maybe even a little bit beautiful. So just as a reminder, some materials for today, just a blank piece of paper if you want to have a couple extra on hand, just in case you're anything like me when you do art activities and you need to start over for your own kind of ease of anxiety, that's totally fine. So blank piece of paper, we're gonna have a Sharpie or a dark colored pen, and then any kind of coloring utensils of your choice. So it could be crayons, it could be colored pencils, you can even use colored markers, watercolors if you happen to have those on hand. Totally up to you, but we're gonna be filling in different spaces within the artwork that we are creating with some nice colors for today. And then optional, just if you have some masking tape or painter's tape, just to create a nice border, especially if you're working with watercolors, help to kind of manage the creative mess, just in case we may be making that a little bit. So I want to start off the activity. Hopefully you have your materials within reach, just by asking yourself, what is your current challenge? Maybe what is something that you wish to find peace in? And I'll give you about a minute or two to kind of reflect on that. And I want you to write that down just as a simple word or a really short, simple statement on whatever you consider the backside of your paper. Let me go ahead and make sure I set a timer for myself because I'm also notoriously guilty of saying I'll give you about a minute or two and then forgetting to check the time. All right, so hopefully that about a minute or so was enough time for you to kind of reflect and think about anything you may be facing in the current moment. If you feel comfortable in sharing that with the group, please feel free to drop that into the chat box. But totally up to you and your comfort level. You definitely don't have to if you don't want to. But thinking of that simple word or simple phrase or statement, whatever you may be facing or something you wish to find peace in, and writing that on your paper. Now, if you flip that paper over to the blank side, we're going to start kind of our creative process here. And I see some people dropping some things in the chat. Thank you so much for sharing that with the group, being a little vulnerable. I think it helps to kind of bring us together and show people that they're not alone. Yeah, that that a lot of people are going through different things at different times, and we're not alone in kind of our struggles and what we may be facing. And it's definitely okay to reach out for help surrounding that and guidance. I see things like my West Maui life, relationship and decision, accepting things I cannot control and create solutions with what I have on hand. I really like that one. It's kind of action focused, right? Balancing work and family, incredibly important things, all of these. Yeah, so thank you again so much for dropping those in the chat. So on the blank side of your paper, okay, I want you to pick up your dark colored Sharpie or pen, and we're gonna start creating a dark line. So I want you to kind of focus on that challenge that you wrote on the back of your paper for about 3 long seconds. And as you're focusing and reflecting, just move your arm freely and scribble. Just fill up your paper with lines. Doesn't have to be in any specific kind of form or fashion. If you want to do one continuous scribble across your paper, that's awesome. If you want to kind of pick up the pen and start a new place for a new line, that's totally fine too. And as you're scribbling, if for any reason any of the lines do not extend to the edges, whether it's the edge of your paper or the edge of your kind of masking paper or tape, just continue them until you do. And I got my blank kind of paper just to show you how when I first did this activity, how I did it, kind of had it posted up on the wall because it made me feel a little bit more like a true artist. And I forgot to take a picture of the original lines that I scribbled. Okay, but again, just kind of taking your pen, scribbling it all over. And then we're going to start the actual transformation process. So what I want you to do is you're going to round out all the corners that you see in your scribble, right? So essentially what we're doing is we're going to transform the cause of our stress, right? Whatever kind of problem or challenge we may be facing or we're choosing to focus on for this activity, into something a little bit more beautiful and a little bit more positive. So if you find yourself doing this like super focused or really caught up in what you're doing, great, right? That means it's working. That's exactly what we want to happen. The point really is to kind of go into that little bit of a meditative state so you can stop thinking about what worries you and kind of find peace surrounding that. So I'm going to pull up my next photo here just to show you as an example, right? So you can see the original lines where I kind of scribbled out within that piece of paper, but all those intersections of where those lines met were really sharp corners, right? So anytime you see those sharp corners, just taking some time and kind of rounding them out, right? Filling them in a little bit. So I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to do this, and I really want you to focus on just that, right? Rounding out those corners. And as you are rounding out those corners, I am going to play one of our 4-minute meditation videos here. Oh, I had them on hand and then I accidentally closed the window. So I apologize. I hope you're continuing to round up your corners while I pull up these meditation videos for us. Right, hopefully you found some peace and calmness with that jellies video. It's one of my favorite meditation videos to have on hand as you're rounding out all of those corners. Okay, so now I want you to add some more, right? So add some additional lines to enhance your composition. Where you put them is totally up to you. Maybe think about even adding some shapes and balances. This is a piece of art that you have control over, right? And in turn, your challenge is something that you also have control over and how you kind of respond to it and choose to process it. So as you're adding any of those lines and shapes, round out any of those additional corners that may have popped up. And I'll pull up just a little bit of an example. You can see I added a few more lines, I even added a little circle in there, continuing to round out those corners. And I'm not sharing my screen, sorry. Let me pull it up. So adding some more lines, maybe a couple shapes, rounding out any kind of additional corners that may have popped up. Now, as you're adding to your creation, I want you to kind of take a look at it and see what you have created so far. Does it look like anything to anyone? And feel free to drop that into the chat if it looks like anything to you folks. And so some of the responses we have received before is that sometimes it kind of looks like neurons, right? If you know what a neuron looks like, right? Those kind of cells that carry messages between our brain and our body parts, right? So it kind of a little bit of reflective of that. And the point of that too is also to connect the science and the art, right? And how it can influence how we may be facing or reflecting upon that challenge that we wrote on the back side of the paper. So the creator of this activity claims that this activity kind of awakens those dormant neuro connections, which stimulate more positive change within the person who's making that art, right, and making that drawing. So at this point, you can either choose to keep your piece colorless if you don't have any of those coloring utensils on hand and add them in later. But if you happen to have those crayons or colored pencils or watercolor paints on hand, whatever you choose to use to color for today, we're going to start to fill in the spaces. We can use solid or even blended colors, changing them up whenever we feel like. It's recommended to pick at least 3 different colors, just for some variety. And you can also use even different mediums. So if you have some crayons and colored pencils, you can even mix them up a little bit to create different kind of textures and gradients. So I'll show you an example of what I did. I chose a couple different colors and just kind of picked random spaces to fill in. So I'm going to pull up another one of our meditation videos and give you about that amount of time to start filling in the spaces of your drawing here today. All right. Hopefully you also enjoyed that butterflies meditation video. It's also one of the more popular ones that we have on our playlist. It's a little more upbeat, I think, than the other ones, and I think it was fitting in the transformation portion, right, of our coloring in the drawing that we are creating today to have that represented as like butterflies, right? And they go through their own transformation process as well. So I hope you're continuing to fill in those colors. It's totally okay if you have not finished. I know those meditation videos are just about 4 minutes or a little over that. When I first did this activity, it actually took me a really long time because I was so into it. It just kind of totally absorbed me in that process of coloring in all of the spaces and choosing which colors I was going to be able to use. You can see even if you look a little more closely at my example on the slide that since I had it taped up on the wall, I captured some of that texture, right, from the wall behind it as well. I even took like a silver Sharpie pen and added some kind of shadowing and borders along my lines around those round edges. So that's definitely an option that you can have to continue to add onto it. And so the final step is to kind of reflect on the process and the product itself, right? The thing that you created. So in that reflection, like really take that time to think, did you enjoy that process, right? Was it something that you enjoyed doing? Was it something that absorbed you like it did for me? Was it able to provide you with a little bit of a distraction or a nice calmness or peaceful feeling? Really focus in on how did you feel, right, while you were making this piece of art? And how do you feel now that you are looking at what you are creating and as it continues to come to life as you add in all of those colors or any other kind of additional details, right, that you decide to add to it? So this activity itself, like I said, it took me a long time. So if you want to continue onwards in the rest of your lunch break to continue working on it, I really encourage that. Or if you want to find time kind of later after work, or maybe even this weekend when you got a little more downtime to do this activity, you can do it with other people as well. It's really fun to kind of do in a group. Just practice being really mindful and present in that moment, right? We thought of our challenge that we wanted to kind of think about and reflect on. We did our scribble, we rounded out those sharp corners, right? Just kind of ease up that perception, right, of the scribble that we drew. And then we took time filling in it with colors, right? Hopefully making it a little bit more of a beautiful piece. And it's something that you can hang up and just continue to reflect on. You can do this activity over again as many times as you need for as many different kind of challenges. If that's something that you'd like, and continue to experiment with different colors and different mediums as well. So I really hope that you find a way to do this activity that speaks to you, and that also is in a way that you enjoy the process. And it is a time for you to really take that moment to reflect and be mindful and be present focused. But that's kind of all I have for today for this activity. I hope that you all enjoyed it. So you enjoyed your time together today. Again, I'll be sending that follow-up with the link to the recording with all the slides and even an infographic with like further instructions on the purpose of this activity and directions. I've also dropped, of course, our evaluation link in the chat. We greatly value your feedback. So if you are able to provide us with any, that would be awesome. We're trying something a little bit different with our activities. These are just different examples too. I'll send over in the follow-up email. If you want kind of more activities like these, or if you even want a repeat of this one as an excuse to kind of really practice something creative during, your lunch hour that you choose to spend with us, that would be awesome. Let us know. And with that, happy Friday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. Please, please, please get those self-care activities in. I see in the chat it was fun and different. Be sharing. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, please share far and widely. It's a really cool activity. Like I said, it totally worked for me and sucked me in. So I hope it's something that you can continue to take forward with you and maybe even share along with others. But we will see you next time. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much.